terminal ends, because it's synaptic contact. When a synapse occurs, a synapse can occur to another neuron. It can occur to a muscle. It can occur to a gland. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? So now, that information was sent into the gray matter. What part of the neuron did it reach? Because this is my terminal end, and the terminal end of one neuron has to meet what part of another neuron?
Select the dendrites.
My dendrites. It was then integrated in that gray matter, and that means that the terminal ends from the gray matter neuron met what of the ones for the white matter? Dendrites. And that had to travel up and meet areas in my brain. Is everybody following me? Now you're probably thinking, why is she just so adamant about this information? Why am I adamant about this information? Why is it clinically significant?
Because the neurotransmitters, they tell each thing what to do. They're all different. And so if they're sending off one thing, then...
Okay, so one thing we have to deal with are neurotransmitters. Have you ever seen the commercials for certain medications that go, oh, well, maybe this nerve is not communicating correctly and there's not enough of this or that or the other. This medication can do blank. Okay? You've got to deal with that type of information. Can you think of any other reasons that information going up and down the spinal cord could be clinically significant?
Maybe the symptoms could tell you if there's a problem in a specific area.
We can see if there's an area of the pain or whatever that might be coming in to let us know, is it this to look at or that to look at? Anything else?
Maybe if your motor skills aren't fast enough.
Maybe they have something about their motor skills, and we might have to trace to what area that might be. That would mean there could be damage. Based on what you know at this point in time, what can you tell me about damage now to the spinal cord or spinal nerves?
Paralysis?
We could see paralysis. And paralysis can be anything from here down. Because we have people that can be quadriplegic, paraplegic, so forth. Because if they severed the spinal cord at a particular region, that's going to determine where the paralysis might occur. Now, what you're going to find as we continue talking about this system, because those lateral horns go to our organs, when that spinal cord is severed, so are the organs affected from that region. This is the reason that if someone severed the spinal cord and say, for example, the lumbar region, they don't have control of their bladder or defecation. It's the reason that if someone severs very high up in the cervical region, they have no control over any of it. Breathing, digestion, everything's affected. Is this kind of making sense now? It's very important, okay? So, we're going to find that that sensory information has to come in. When it's these ascending tracts, information moves up the spinal cord. If it's descending, it's going to travel down. We're going to basically move information from one level of that central nervous system, which is the brain and the spinal cord, from one level to another. For example, maybe we need to go from lumbar to thoracic to cervical to thalamus to the frontal cortex. Maybe it needs to go to the temporal region. Maybe it needs to go to the occipital. Do you see where I'm going with that? From one level to the next. These bundles, they're arranged in what we call columns. They're also known as funiculi. But basically, there's 3 columns that exist. We're going to find columns on our posterior side, anterior side, and the lateral. You see how it kind of is showing posterior, anterior, lateral? Okay? So they call them columns. Okay? Your textbook is going to get into great detail about the tracks that exist. I'm not asking you to know every piece of that information. I want you to know their names, okay? But I'm not asking you to tell me where it starts, where it ends, and that sort of thing. If you were going into this area, if you were going into neurology, yeah, you're going to need to know it, okay? But you can learn that as you move forward. For my purposes, I want you to understand that we have these columns, we've got these tracks, okay, and we have this because sensory information needs to go in, response come out by descending, okay? Their names, basically their names, which I've listed them right here on these. I got the ones for the ascending, descending. Their names simply let you know where the information starts and where it ends. For example, spinocerebellar starts in the spine, ends at the cerebellum. Okay? I'm not going to ask you, okay, well, this information is for motor coordination and it helps with my posture and so on. I'm not asking you that. Okay? The tracks as a whole, whether ascending or descending, some terms that are important. Some of these tracks decussate. That doesn't mean taking back something you said, okay? What this is, it's letting you know if something decussates, because you're going to see that term, okay? It crosses from left to right and right to left, which is what we think about, okay? That's how we think about it. Some are ipsilateral. Ipsa means same side. That means information does not cross over. Whatever got started, whatever ends, stays either on the right or the left tracks. When information goes in, that means our sensory information, we have to travel across three types of neurons. We're going to say that they are the first order, second order, third order. First order, that is going to be whatever detected the stimulus, the receptor, whatever is out here. Does that make sense? And that's what took it to the cord or the brainstem. Like over here where I tried to do my little representation, this was the receptor in the muscle that took it to the spinal cord. That's my first order. My second order, this is what is going to be synapsing in my spinal cord or the brainstem. And it's going to go to a region known as the thalamus. Do you all remember that from parts of the brain? Okay. The thalamus, like if you were to take the brain, open it into the left and right halves, there's a little area that looks like it's to the inside of each side, okay? There's a region called the thalamus and the hypothalamus. The thalamus is what we call the relay station. Every sensation, meaning every sensory input we have, except for smell. That's going to become interesting. Every sensory input we have, except for smell, has to go to the thalamus. The thalamus will then send it to the area of the brain it needs to go. The thalamus will send it. That's going to be my third order. So for example, if the thalamus needs to send it to my frontal region, it can. It needs to send it to the parietal, temporal, occipital, it can. Because it's my relay station. So that sensory information, except for smell, has to go in, and then it has to be sent to the area of the brain it needs to go to. All sensory information has to do this except for smell. Clinical significance, if the thalamus is damaged, sensory information going in will be awesome. Take a break, be back at 10:30. Once it leaves the thalamus, that neuron that takes it where it's got to go is the third.